We have bad news, good news with the tight end position. Bad news is 8 or 9 teams in your league are going to be screwed, have no idea what they are doing, and are going to be completely lost at tight end. The good news is if you are one of the 2 to 3 teams that can actually find one of these guys to score points, you can get a significant edge over the rest of the field. So I'm going to give you our top 30-ish tight end rankings. I'll talk about the guys that we want to be targeting for the underdog drafts that we're in right now, the guys that you want to be targeting and avoiding in your regular drafts, and where that cutoff exactly is. But starting off with the tight end one, we all know him. We all love him. We are going to have to put Kyle Pitts, the man, the myth, the legend, in his, actually, I'm joking. We'll have Brock Bowers here, the true generational tight end that we are looking at. One, with Bowers, garbage quarterback play last year. Some of the least efficient quarterback play in the entire league. And now you actually have an upgrade with Jonnu Smith. And now I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm the best quarterback talent evaluator in the world by any means. But if we're looking at the money that Geno got this offseason in comparison to what the Seahawks paid Sam Darnold, seems like Geno should be a serviceable quarterback, should be an upgrade here, especially with what we had in Las Vegas previously. And Brock Bowers comes into the NFL and he puts up the best rookie tight end season of all time. And he does so starting in week 1. Week 1, he was the tight end 3. Week 2, he was the tight end 3 yet again. And you're looking at a season with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 top 5 finishes in that week. He finishes playing 86% of the snaps. All this data is over there on flockfantasy.com. Just go to the rankings page, click a player, and you can see whatever you want to see, completely free. But 86% of the snaps, he drew 153 targets through 17 weeks, 2.25 yards per route run, which is massive considering how inefficient the quarterback play was in Las Vegas. Had some people in the live streams asking me what I think with Ginty coming in. And I know that we've heard differing opinions. Well, one, Ashton Ginty may make this offense better, more touchdown opportunities for everyone. But also on the flip side of that is like, oh, okay, well, once they get in the red zone, they're probably a little more likely to run the ball. So for my opinion, I don't think Ginty has a massive impact on how we should be viewing Brock Bowers. I think Bowers is going to give you like low-end wide receiver 1 production at the tight end position is a cheat code. If you're playing in a redraft league this year where you only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, Brock Bowers is a round 1 pick. If you're playing in an underdog draft where obviously wide receiver is a little bit harder to come by, Bowers in that instance should be someone you're targeting in the early 2nd round. Now, going over and looking at what we have with Trey McBride. McBride also in his own tier, right? Tight end's very different than what we're going to see with running back, wide receiver, quarterback, where there are a bunch of players in the top tier. Nope, McBride in his own. McBride, the storyline here is the man goes through and dominates from a usage perspective, but because he doesn't score touchdowns, he doesn't score as many points as Bowers. Like, you actually have McBride 249 points last season in comparison to Bowers at 262. However, if you're looking at the underlying volume numbers, McBride was phenomenal. 147 targets through only 16 weeks, over 100 receptions, and 2.42 yards per route run. And the craziest thing of all is he had a 29% team target share in the games that he played, at least according to flockfantasy.com. Looking at Brock Bowers, Bowers had about a 26% team target share. It's not like Arizona brings anybody else in to steal targets away from McBride this next season. So McBride, super safe bet as a top 5 tight end in a full PPR format. And you have the hidden upside that he could very easily be the tight end 1 overall if he just scores 8 touchdowns. If he just gives you a league average mark with his touchdown rate. He's going to be 26 years old this next season. And if we look at all the seasons that were similar to McBride at 25 since the year 2000, you have Rob Gronkowski, who the following year averaged 17 points per game. George Kittle, the following season, averaged 16 points per game. Jordan Reed, following year, averaged 14 points per game. Antonio Gates at 13.5. Jason Witten at 12.5. Vernon Davis at 12. Then you had some kind of bust on this list like Austin Hooper, Jordan Cameron, which obviously didn't really give you much the following season. Now, dropping down to our next tier, we are going to be looking at George Kittle. Now, this is still definitely the range that you're excited in your regular redraft league, right? Now, with Kittle, the thing is he's going to be 32 years old this next season. The concern that you have to have is Unless your name is Travis Kelce, unless your name is Antonio Gates, when you begin to get to the middle of your 30s, you are going to begin to see that expected drop off with the efficiency. Has not happened with Kittle, has not showed any signs of that. If you're looking at his yards per route run over the past 3 years, it's actually been getting better from 1.8 up to 2.3 in this past season, 3 yards per route. I mean, Kittle has been a monster. Now, keep in mind this past season, you had no brains in Ayuk. Deebo Samuel gets injured and Deebo Samuel turns into a pumpkin. Ricky Pearsall was shot as well. It seems at the moment, like Pearsall and Ayuk are both going to be good to go week 1. So Kittle should have some expected target competition that he did not have last season. Now, the thing to acknowledge with that as well is if we are looking at the efficiency of this offense, it wouldn't be surprising whatsoever if we do have more trips to the red zone. We have more points scored overall in San Francisco as the offense is a little bit healthier. So maybe the touchdown upside of Kittle ends up outweighing it. But if we look at the best age 31 seasons that we have seen since the year 2000 at tight end, we had Travis Kelce, who the following year did fall off from 21 points per game down to about 17. George Kittle then was at 16.6. You had Delaney Walker fall from 16.3 to 12.5. You had Tony Gonzalez stay about the same. You had Antonio Gates fall from 14.1 down to 9.7. You had Greg Olsen fall from 13 down to 6. Jason Witten fell from about 13 to 10. Jared Cook stayed the same at about 12. Taysom Hill fell a bit, and Dennis Pitta fell off the map. So again, more times than not, at this age, you should expect tight ends to slowly regress, even if Kittle has not shown any signs of it so far. Now, if y'all remember last season, I mean, obviously we stream Underdog drafts every night, and I was looking at Sam LaPorta, and he was going in round 4 of these Underdog drafts, and I was screaming from the rooftop, oh my gosh, he was just the best tight end in fantasy as a rookie. Give me all of Sam LaPorta in round 4. It didn't work out. All right. Sam LaPorta finished as the tight end 8 last season. Sam LaPorta fell dramatically from scoring about 240 points as a rookie down to about 174. Now you have no Ben Johnson. And now there are concerns that this Lions offense is going to even regress from this point. Now, I didn't have a super strong take with LaPorta this season, who at the moment he's going about in round 6, round 7 of Underdog drafts. Until someone in the live stream a couple days ago pointed out something that's very interesting. And if you pull up LaPorta's game log on flockfantasy.com, you'll be able to see the routes run column at the far end of the chart and look at the before and after that Jacksonville Jaguars game in week 11. If you were looking at before for LaPorta's routes, 25, 44, but then 17, 17, 15, 22, 13, 15, 17. LaPorta wasn't out there getting involved. LaPorta wasn't playing a ton of snaps. You look at his snap rate as well on the site, and it's hovering around 60 to 80% weekly, which is very weird. But if you remember LaPorta going into the season, LaPorta was dealing with an injury. So what's very interesting is you look at the second half of the year after week 11, those routes jump up for LaPorta up to 29, 29, 35, 52, 23, 26, 25. His snap rate rises dramatically as well, where every week over the last 7 weeks of the season, he plays over 90% of the snaps for the Detroit Lions. So what I'm beginning to think here with LaPorta is he was injured going into the year. His usage was limited. The efficiency fall off wasn't really there. He still had 1.79 yards per route run, which is almost identical to what he had in his rookie season. So while, yes, it was a disaster, us drafting LaPorta in round 4 of Underdog drafts last year, I'm probably going to start taking him in round 7 of drafts this season, especially when we're looking for that highest ceiling possible. And before Brock Bowers, LaPorta was the best rookie tight end that we had ever seen, and he was the tight end 1 overall in fantasy in 2023 as a rookie. Now, of course, if you wanted to draft with us or if you wanted to get into fantasy drafts today, really the only place you can do so is on Underdog Fantasy, at least the best place you can do it. They're best ball drafts, so no time commitment at all during the year. It's how we draft hundreds of teams every offseason. We've done it for years. We're going to do it for years going into the future. And if you go to the link in the description or in the comment section and use promo code FLOCK, you will get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Plus, on top of that, you'll be getting our 2025 fantasy football rankings and draft guide cheat sheet. And we're live streaming these drafts every single night on the live stream. So of course you can come out and join a draft with us, which I would absolutely love it if you did. Just hit the bell next to the subscribe button if you want to know when we're live. Now, going over to our next tight end, we are going to be looking at TJ Hockenson. And with Hockenson, absolutely loved him as a player back in his Detroit days. I thought it was crazy when the Lions sent him over to Minnesota, especially at that price tag. And with Hockenson, he's been good. You go back to his 2 years in Minnesota. I mean, he's sitting there as the tight end 2 in 2022. He's sitting as the tight end 4 in 2023 in total fantasy points. Obviously gets injured at the very end of 2023. In the 2024 season, the total numbers don't look great. And even if you're going to be looking at what you have from a weekly output standpoint, he only has 2 finishes as the top 5 tight end last year, despite playing in week 9 onwards. But he just clearly wasn't fully healthy. You look at the snap rate, he only played 47% of the snaps on average last season. If you look early on his time in Minnesota, he's closer to an 80 to 84% snap rate player. So he just got back from his injury, wasn't fully healthy, should be fully healthy going into the 2025 season. And if you're looking at the efficiency, he produced when he was on the field last year. 2.6 yards per route run, which was a career high for Hockenson. But again, it just all goes back to he wasn't fully healthy last season. I would like to put him higher, but the difficulty is going to be that you have Jefferson, you have Addison, so you have a ton of target competition. Now let's go over and let's look at Mark Andrews. And with Andrews, it is going to be very tough to figure out what to do with him this next year because the total fantasy points look fine. Like Mark Andrews finishes as the tight end 6, cool. But if you're looking at where this came from, this wasn't due to his volume. You had 69 targets through 17 games for Mark Andrews. 55 receptions through 17 games, 673 receiving yards through 17 games. Mark Andrews scored almost all his points last year with the touchdown category. And we know historically that touchdowns are going to be extremely volatile in fantasy football, and they're very difficult to chase. That's why I think the Trey McBride could very easily be the tight end 1 overall in fantasy this year because touchdowns go up and down, small sample, and if McBride has positive touchdown regression, it could absolutely crush. But if Andrews has negative touchdown regression and likely continues to have this type of role in this offense, I am going to be concerned. If you look at Mark Andrews, he only ran 292 routes this past season. The last time that he played 17 full games, he ran 514. So Andrews was out on the field a whole lot less, only 62% of the snaps this past year. The production fall off wasn't horrible, specifically because the touchdowns were still there. But I don't know if you can trust him. Going over to Kelce, the fall off is here as well. Keep in mind, Kelce's going to be 36 years old this season. Like Kelce, if we're looking at the best 35-year-old years since the year 2000, he's up there with some of the best names ever. Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, Shannon Sharp. The following year, Tony Gonzalez actually averaged 14.6 fantasy points per game. But outside of that, nobody else on this list averaged more than 11.5. So Kelce's getting to that point where the age is a major concern. 3 straight years of decline if you're looking at his efficiency, with 2.4 down to 2, down to 1.6 yards per route run. And if you have Rice and Worthy and Hollywood all healthy, you actually have a little more target competition this year than you did last year. But still, Kelce is Kelce. Maybe you say that the passing volume goes up in Kansas City, and that is how you would unlock his ceiling. Now, going over and looking at Jonnu Smith had 2 completely different seasons last year. You had the first half of the year, the first 10 weeks of this season, you had 2 tight end 1 weeks. He was just a waiver wire option. But then, starting week 11 onwards, he was maybe the best tight end in fantasy, not named McBride or Bowers. He was the tight end 2, the tight end 2, the tight end 4, the tight end 7, the tight end 1, the tight end 9, the tight end 14, and the tight end 3. You'll actually see right now, if you're drafting on Underdog, Jonnu's going ahead of Andrews. Jonnu's going ahead of Kelce. Just for me personally, and this is like a general rule of thumb that I always use, is when we have these players that come out and give you the best season that they've ever gave, I'm willing to buy it if they're 23, if they're 24, hell, if they're 25 years old. If you tell me, oh, okay, this wide receiver, he didn't really do much through his first 2 or 3 years of his NFL career, but in year 3 and year 4, he was 24 years old. He finally put it together and he popped off. Or same thing for a tight end. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Maybe we can continue to build on that. But Jonnu Smith's going to be 30 this year. And while he finishes the tight end 4 in total fantasy points last season, before then, the tight end 15, 13, 13, 28, 46, 15. He did this across the entire NFL with the Tennessee Titans, the New England Patriots, the Atlanta Falcons, and then the Miami Dolphins. So what I'm concerned by is we don't have the large sample of dominance from Jonnu. What we have is we have like a 7-8 week sample of dominance. And I don't know if I'm willing to buy that he finally put it together at 29, 30 years old. Now going over and looking at David Njoku, I love Njoku. Just throw that out there. All right. I am not necessarily expecting Fannin to come in and see a ton of usage in the first season. I still think David Njoku is going to have his normal role. And his normal role is him up there at 76, 87% of the targets, hovering around 75 to 85% of this team's volume in Cleveland. And now it projects out that Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, which may not be a great real life thing, right? Because Flacco is going to be throwing interceptions, but for fantasy purposes, the passing volume may be okay here in this Cleveland offense. And David Njoku, he dodges Travis Hunter. He dodges an alpha wide receiver 1 coming in here and taking 25% of his team's target share. Really, all David Njoku has to worry about is Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman. I know they take a tight end on day 2 of the draft, but again, we're not expecting rookie tight ends of that caliber to really mess with a high-level producer that we've seen from Njoku for years now. David Njoku had a 22% team target share last year. David Njoku's target share has gotten better every single year since 2020, starting at 7.5%, up to 11.5%, then to 18.5%, then to 21.5%, then up to 23%. Keep in mind, for flockfantasy.com, we're taking the target share from a per game perspective. But still, I'm in on Njoku at his current price tag. Our next 2 guys are going to be Loveland and Tyler Warren. I may need to rank Warren ahead of Loveland for redraft purposes. How I have it now for Dynasty is I have Loveland ahead of Warren. I don't think either guy finds himself in a good spot this year. Loveland arguably is the 4th option in Chicago. You have DJ Moore, you have Rome Odunze, you have Luther Burden, and then also Cole Kmet may have some usage this season. Tyler Warren's going to be in a worse offense, less passing volume. You have Pittman, Downs. That's about it. You have a running back and then a quarterback that may take some rushing touchdowns. Tyler Warren's 23. There maybe can be an argument here that he's a little more pro ready than Loveland, who's going to be 21 for his rookie season. And neither guy's in a great situation. Both were strong prospects. So you can rank either guy the way that you want him. I probably will move Tyler Warren ahead of Loveland though. Going over and looking at Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram going to be 31 years old this next season. Massive fall off from fantasy points where you go back to 2023. He scored 230 points. He was the 2nd tight end in fantasy 2 years ago. This past year obviously was gross. You see the snap rate fall. You see the routes plummet. But the efficiency is fine. 1.9 yards per route run. So what this tells me is Evan Ingram got hurt and Jacksonville's horrendous. But when Ingram was on the field, he was okay. And now he goes to a phenomenal situation in Denver where you have good coaching staff, good quarterback, and a ton of targets available. So Evan Ingram, especially if you're in your regular redraft league, you may be able to take him ahead of the rookies. The reason I'm putting the rookies ahead of him right now is I just think that maybe specifically in these underdog tournaments, weeks 15, 16, 17, the rookies probably have a higher ceiling. And also underdog's going to be half PPR, not full PPR. But anyway, these top 12 guys, I would say, are the players that in your regular redraft league, you're going to draft them. The players below this are maybe borderline. You throw them on the back end of your roster. Like if you take Evan Ingram at the end of your regular redraft league, maybe you throw a Tucker Kraft on here as well. And you go into the season with 2 guys and you say one of them is going to turn out to be it and you'll cut the other. Obviously in underdog drafts, you're going to have to draft a bunch of these players. So it is pretty important to have these players accurately ranked. Going over to Tucker Kraft, great jump in year 2. He goes from the tight end 27 to the tight end 10. He goes from 1.2 yards per route run up to 2.6. He goes from a 7% team target share up to a 15%. Every measure that you'd want to see for Kraft, he has. Now it's a rush first offense. It's an offense that brings in a decent amount of help at wide receiver in particular. And if we look at the historical comps for Tucker Kraft's 24-year-old season, they're not great, to be completely honest. Jake Ferguson, another one of these names in your regular redraft league. If you wanted to throw him ahead of the rookies, go right ahead, right? With Ferguson, I don't think he's a super special player. Whether you're looking at his target share, whether you're looking at his yards per route run, he's never been particularly efficient. He's never been that productive in Dallas. But the Dallas Cowboys don't address wide receiver at all. So right now it's Lamb, Tolbert, and Ferguson. I think Dak's going to be able to provide a decent amount of overall passing volume for this offense. So Ferguson is in a phenomenal situation for this next year. So Dalton Kincaid had that massive step backwards in year 2 when it comes to the total fantasy points that he put up. He fell from about 150 points as a rookie down to about 100 points in his second season, despite the Bills' offense being just fine. But what's very interesting with this is I think a lot of it had to do with Kincaid getting injured. Because, again, while the snap rate fell, while the total fantasy points fell, and pretty much everything fell, the targets fell, the yards fell, the touchdowns fell, whatever you want to look at, if you're looking at when Kincaid was on the field, he was better than he was his rookie season. He had a 20% team target share instead of a 17.5%. He had 1.75 yards per route run instead of 1.47. Now, I know that Kincaid supposedly had surgery at the beginning of the offseason. I saw that floating around Twitter. Have not seen that's actually confirmed. But if Kincaid was just hurt in his second season and his routes fell from 455 down to 255, if we can get more playing time for Kincaid, specifically in best ball where we are trying to chase these touchdowns and the Bills offense should have a ton of touchdowns go around, may not be a horrible spot. Going over to Dallas Goedert. Goedert fell dramatically with his total fantasy points, but similar to what we're looking at with these other guys, the efficiency actually bounced back for Goedert. He fell to 1.4 yards per route run in 2023. That jumped up to 2.5 this past season. His target share has been about 19% for 3 straight years in Philadelphia. The dude clearly needs to stay healthy. He hasn't played 16 games over the past 5 seasons, which is a pretty tough scene. He's going to be 30 years old this year, so not super old. And again, good offense. Going over to Kyle Pitts, I know a lot of people are joking because the coaching staff came out and said like, oh, Kyle Pitts going to make a big jump forward this year, blah, blah, blah. Side note, let me confirm this before I say this, but I believe last I looked, Kyle Pitts is younger than RJ Harvey, which I'm not telling you Kyle Pitts is going to be some great player, blah, 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 but I do think it's pretty damn funny. And no, I'm sorry, Kyle Pitts is not younger than RJ Harvey. He's a couple months older, but they are the same age as it stands right now. Kyle Pitts still incredibly young. We go ahead and we look at Pitts. From his rookie season, he was great. 2.2 yards per route run, 20% team target share. The tight end 6 is a rookie. In his second year, he gets injured, but when he's on the field, he has a 27% team target share. Like Kyle Pitts was a phenomenal prospect. Like if you're looking on paper, Kyle Pitts was a better prospect than Bowers. Kyle Pitts had a great first season, but the dude has been a turd since. Back-to-back seasons, averaging about 1.5 yards per route. This past year, his target share fell down to 13.5%, which is laughably bad. Laughably bad. Now, maybe Michael Penix likes him a little bit more. We saw in week 17, Kyle Pitts give you 44 receiving yards and the 5 targets, but hell, I guess he scored a touchdown, so that's exciting. Reality, Kyle Pitts is probably nothing, but if you want to take a shot on him on best ball, you can. But in your regular redraft league, he'll be a waiver wire option. Regular redraft league likely will be a waiver wire option as well, except when he goes out there and drops 26 points in week 1, could have that 34 bomb if it wasn't for his toe being that far out of the end zone in week 1 as well. After that, likely didn't do much other than just blow all our fab on the waiver wire. If you're looking at 2024, the most promising thing is you did see a massive step forward with his snap rate. He's gone from 40% of the snaps up to 44% of the snaps up to 60% of the snaps in Baltimore. It looks like this is taking away from Mark Andrews steadily. Again, Andrews kind of saved his own season with the overall receiving touchdown numbers. But outside of underdog drafts, likely is going to be a waiver wire option for you. Britton Strange is a tight end that had okay marks when he was on the field last year. He ran 213 routes, so we didn't get to see him over a large sample, but 1.92 yards per route run. This isn't a season where you have Trevor Lawrence injured. This isn't a season in which the Jags are just a complete debacle. Maybe they're better this year, but again, you'll have Travis Hunter, so you actually will have some serious target competition with Hunter and Brian Thomas at receiver. But Strange, a little bit of a wild card in Jacksonville. Going over and looking at Hunter Henry. Tight end 12, maybe Drake May gets a little bit better this next season. Maybe the coaching staff is exciting as well, and limited competition when it comes to receivers. But I don't know. Just the ceiling has been severely capped since he's been in New England. The efficiency's been horrendous. We haven't seen him get higher than 1.57 yards per route run in any year. So, and also he's an older player. He's 31. Pat Freiermuth, not exciting at all unless you think that there is a savior coming to Pittsburgh. If you think Rodgers can come in, then cool. But again, the issue is, well, Freiermuth was the tight end 9 this past season. You have Metcalf coming to town, and you project out to be one of the worst passing offenses in the NFL with your current quarterback room. And if y'all watch the Flock League, y'all also know that Pat Freiermuth doesn't know how to lateral a football. Going over and looking at Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz was the tight end 7 this past year. Zach Ertz put up some crazy weeks from a full PPR perspective. The dude had 66 receptions off of 91 targets. Now, my hesitation with Zach Ertz is the man's going to be 35 years old. And we go back and we look past this previous year. When you're looking at him with the Arizona Cardinals in 2023, 1.03 yards per route run. In 2022, 1.21 yards per route run. I don't think he has any juice left, especially in an underdog format where it's a half PPR. I don't see why we're excited. K-Dot and I drafted a ton of in underdog drafts last year and felt great about it. And actually the efficiency took a massive step forward. K-Dot, and the reason we were drafting him a bunch is he played 96% of the snaps in 2023. But side note, he was like the worst player in football. 0.8 yards per route run. He ran 568 routes and had 455 receiving yards. Unbelievably bad. He was better this past year, but you had Godwin missing the majority of the year. Mike Evans got injured as well. Both players looked to be good week 1, and they dropped a wide receiver in round 1 that should play over the middle. So I think Kate Otten's time is done. Mason Taylor, Terrence Ferguson, Jawan Johnson, Jatavion Sanders, Cole Kmet, all these are Chig, Elijah Arroyo, Luke Musgrave, Ben Sinnott. All these are guys that you would only ever consider as your third tight end in an underdog draft. And in reality, if you end up with like, say, Bowers and Kraft at tight end, you're not wanting to draft a third tight end on underdog anyway. It's just if you whiff on those top guys and instead maybe you're looking at a tight end room that is like, say, Dallas Goedert, Pat Freiermuth, then you can follow it up with a third tight end down here in this range of just the absolute grossest names you're ever going to see. But I think that's all I got for you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you sticking with me, even though I was drafting the hell out of Sam LaPorta in round 4 last season. Feel very bad about it, but it is what it is. I think it may be a little bit better in round 7 this year. But of course, if you're not in a draft with us on the live stream we're doing every single night, or if you just want to get in a draft in general, Underdog Fantasy is definitely the place to be doing it this time of year. You can find that link in the description. You can find it in the comment section. Code FLOCK will hook you up with a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Plus, on top of that, you're going to be getting our 2025 fantasy football draft guide and cheat sheet. But I think that's all I got for you. I really do appreciate you, and I really hope we get to see you out with the live stream later tonight.